Good morning, friends. We have already had notes which are shared with you for behavioral finance, and I'm just going to give you overview about this subject as far as the uh, expectations from you people are concerned. You are going to write about that. You are going to actually learn the concepts that are taught, and those concepts are going to be based on your knowledge related to behavioral finance. Let me tell you. Behavioral finance is such a branch of finance which talks about the investor's psyche. As and when an investor wants to make investment, whether it is in the form of investment in shares, investment in bonds, investment in fixed deposit, investment in gold, investment in real estate, he takes lot of knowledge, he takes lot of information, and he is supposed to take an informed decision. But what is seen is it depends upon the psychology of the person into which option the person is likely to invest. And that brings us to the subject of behavioral finance, which talks about what are the various ways and means people can make investments and what are the various fundamentals which they think about the time they are taking a decision of making investment. And for that, they have to think about all those elements and the credit cycle and the amount of money they have, and of course the risk which they are going to carry, and of course which are the options which give him lucrative or very attractive yield or attractive income. And that is the reason why many factors are important when we talk about in the behavioral finance. Behavioral finance, therefore, is related to the euphoria or boom that is there in the market, which talks about the pricing of various commodities. It could be in the form of shares, could be in the form of investment options like FDs. People have to think whether those options are good or bad. Then there are some people who are euphoric. They give you some kind of clues. They may be right or wrong, but you have to evaluate those. Profit making is many a times is the intention, and the panic also is one of those things that actually creeps into the time there are changes into the prices of various commodities. Commodities include, of course, the stock market as well, and that is the reason why it is so important that people need to know about what are the various economic elements, like we call it bubbles. Then there is something called IPOs. IPOs are investment option in the form of investment to be made responding to the prospectus issued by a company. Market, of course, is volatile. It keeps on changing according to the whims and frenzies of economic downturn. It also has some kind of impact on the pricing patterns for various kinds of essential commodities. And of course, there are risk elements which also are equally important. All those things put together, anomalies that are likely to be there, systematic noise many a times are created, rhetorics are part of the life, equity is one of those options. Putting all those two things together, we have to introduce ourselves to the concept of behavioral finance. We then look at the second unit of the syllabus, talks about biases, talks about heuristic, talks about individual investors. You'll see there are estimate probabilities. Many people feel that this is going to happen, that is going to happen, some kind of forecasting takes place. There are enterprises pursued to have chances of success. There are even you'll see advantages of positive self-illusion. Some people feel that whatever their gut feeling is, that is right, and they go for such kind of decisions. Then there could be a disadvantage of what is called as having some overconfidence in the process. Then we have learnings. We learn out of mistakes, and we come to have we get to have some kind of feedback, and then we start taking decisions. And then, of course, anchoring and adjustment is one of those features many people keep on sticking to. There are hindsight biases. We feel that there something was good. I thought it was good, but then there was some fishy element also. And then hindsight, you realize that I should have or should not have gone for that particular decision. Anchoring, of course, is one of those things people keep on sticking to their plan, and many a times they feel that they are safe. And of course, the adjustments that they have to make, and they have to make various options and take decisions. So that's about heuristic. We are talking about now preferences. There is something called framing effect. People have some kind of principles which they stick to, and then those are in principles they keep on following, and their frame of mind is such that they have their wordings and their settings and situations preconceived. We also have prospects theory, where we feel that there are certain kind of elements where there is likely to be some kind of boom in future. We call it that prospect is good. Projected utility we try and think about, expected utility try and think about, and these are the things that actually are price of economic thinking. Then there are results that could be inevitable in case there are expected and unexpected utilities that they are into, or sometimes they may or may not get it. They cancel. Then there is transitivity. Then there is a risk aversion. Risk aversion is one of those things, cohesive arbitraries. What we need is we think about certain mental accounting. We think that certain thing is going to happen, some certain things are not going to happen accordingly, and we accordingly decide our priorities. IPOs is one of those very interesting options, but then they have to have a luck factor going with them. Then we have behavioral theories of momentum. Many a times when momentum is there, people have to catch up with that and know that going with the wind or not with the wind is the option that they have to take. And then there is savings behavior. Some people want to take very conservative approach. They go for only certain kinds of investment options, and then they accordingly decide about their social priorities as well as security elements. And these are the things that are counted into preferences. And last but not the least, we are talking about behavioral corporate finance, where limits are there to the arbitrage. There is many a times no need for aggression. Overconfidence is to be avoided. Executive compensation is a key element. Of course, they have to keep that executive compensation within control. Capital budgeting is one of those decisions which every finance person has to take. They have to be very clear about what is the capital investment and what is going to be the revenue, and they have to know to what extent the capital budgeting is necessary, to what extent such kind of financing such decisions are necessary for any kind of assets that are to be procured. Fairness, of course, and ethics is one of those very key element of any behavioral science. Advertising to investors, many times you must know who are going to be your prospective customers, prospective investors. You have to address them, and their if their options are taken into account and their illusions are taken care of, then you are having a, you can say, very loyal kind of investors. And information, whichever information is going to have some kind of element of overconfidence, must be ignored, and you must know wherever possible you should try and avoid losses. And that is the sum total of this subject talks about behavioral finance. PowerPoint presentations are already shared with you. There are some cases which I have already discussed in the class also, which has some kind of connect with people like uh, Mr. Yeah, those people who have run away, and their investments are, in fact, loans are into what is called as you call it NPA. Vijay Mallya is one of those persons. Then another person who has actually cheated our country is also the questions that we have discussed in the class. That was related to various elements of finances, and of course the behavioral finance element. And those people actually had cheated the system, and the consequences, people are having little bit of shaken about the kind of confidence they have into various investment options. Of course, having said that, Arshad Bhai Mehta's scam that has rocked our country in the period of 1990 to 1997 up to year 2000. We have seen the share market getting affected by Harshad Bhai Mehta's tricks and trades. Of course, Nirav Modi has also shown how a system could be cheated in the form of loans that they have taken and they have just vanished from the place, and now having some kind of options. They are wanting to have the countries to give them the kind of asylum, and they are also being punished by the system. But then, all said and done, everything that relates to behavior of a person who invests money, and everything who is a person called businessman, the borrowings what his company has, the kind of loans he is raising, the kind of uh, repayments which he is not making, is going to have huge impact on the psyche of the investors. When we talk about investor, it is you and me, and that is the reason it is so important to know what are the behavioral elements of finance, what are the various kinds of biases which you should guard against, what are the various elements of overconfidence that are going to have some kind of resounding effect on your investment decisions, how is going to be a safe investment in various options, how those options are to be executed. One of those cardinal principles people have spoken about is called don't keep all the eggs in the same basket. So you'll need to spread your investment, make safer options, and go for the investment and get some kind of reasonable response. Don't expect something that is going to be having huge response, huge yield in the first few months or year period, and in long run if that money is going to be lost. To be careful and guard against such kind of false promises that have been put in, and here therefore it's so important that we learn this subject in light of the reality, learn how those cases of Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi and so many others who have distracted the banking system, have taken undue advantage of the banking system and the kind of processes that they had followed for obtaining their loans and then vanishing from this place, and now avoiding the action by the income tax department as well as the enforcement directorate. And that is the reason why it is so important to understand and learn this subject, and that is the reason we have learned this subject as part of our syllabi, that we have chosen this to be taught to you in this particular semester. I hope and feel that you might have got the overall view of the subject in this particular presentation which I have made. I already shared some Warren Buffett and other investment related wise investment pattern related videos which were shared to you, along with the notes which I have sent across, and I believe that should be useful element for your study, that you are going to actually appear whenever the exam takes place for this subject, will be able to write the answers. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.